One of the main things about life is, as a man, is being able to protect yourself and to stay in shape. And one of the things is that's important, especially when it comes to us, is falling out of shape. And we know that when you fall out of shape as a man, it does something to your mental. I don't know why, but it does. And I've been there. And it's crazy because one of the things we don't take serious is our health today. You see more and more men with big, big bulges, stomachs, out of shape, can't run, can't get up a flight of steps. And it seems to be something that's on the back burner because a lot of people are dealing with depression. And one of the things about depression is you start to feel like you can't quite understand how to get through life because you got too many concerns, you got too many things going on in your head that you're battling with. And when you battle with these things, you tend to think that that's everything that you're dealing with in life that you can only focus on. Can't focus on anything else, and that's a problem because you end up becoming stagnated to the point where as though you can't even look ahead to even have any thoughts of being able to make it through life. That's probably why so many men today are like off of themselves, and we have a high rate of suicidal thoughts because we tend to feel like we lacking a lot of things in ourselves, of believing in ourselves, having to go through obstacles whereas though you feel like you just a failure in life. And a lot of us been there. I've been there. But sometimes you do have to get away from the chaos and the noise and be able to understand that, yo, sometimes it's good to just be by yourself alone so you can be able to think, be able to understand what is important to you. Because a lot of times people can give you advice, but if their advice is not on the same line of the things that you're going through, you sometimes kind of start to think that, well, they're not going to do what I'm going to do. They're not from where I'm from. So how are they going to tell me how to operate? And that's the problem. A lot of times you get advice from people that never been in certain positions like you or come from certain backgrounds or environments as yourself. Um, some people grow up in an environment where as though they have so much wealth around them and money, the outside world that don't have money tend to look at people with money and look at their kids and say, yo, you lucky. Well, it's the problem. You think it's luck, but you find out that these kids start going through all type of drug problems as if that they coming from a background where as though they don't have money. And that's because they're used to it. They don't know anything different. We tend to grow up in the low income areas. We tend to grow up on the other side, whereas though we don't see money, and then when we do see money, we see money in the drug game, and people stealing, hustling, robberies, child support, um, government assistance. We see money coming in different directions, which has a negative concept because you don't quite understand really what it takes to be business oriented because you didn't grow up that way. So when you look at how you look at things now in your life, man or woman, you have to look at your life as what do I want out of this life? What do I want? What matters to me? And what matters to you is what matters to you, not your mother, not your girlfriends, not your boyfriends, or even as men, not your mom, not your dad, not your friends, not your fellas on the block. Because at the end of the day, you're seeing now, we are in the times now where as though you're seeing more and more men being locked up for RICO charges, being gang affiliated. We're seeing it. They're starting to clean up the streets because it's a clean sweep. It's easy. It's easy because we in a trap era. Everybody wants to brag. Everybody wants to be online. I did this. I did that. I dropped this many bodies, and it looking like it's cute. Ain't never been cute killing your own people. But for some odd reason, it's what's selling. It's what's making the world look and view a certain culture as if they're lames and they're sorry people. So when you see something happen where like the cops end up killing someone from a traffic stop and we don't quite know how everything kind of transpired, Give or take, you never know. Law enforcement could have egged it on. They could have de-escalated it. But we also know we live in an environment where as though de-escalation is not on their mindset. Sometimes it's kind of like execute. But it's also how we move and operate. I end up learning this a little later in life, but I was wild and reckless younger. And I remember giving cops a hard time to the point where as though I was, out of control. And you normally are not taught to operate efficiently, especially when you don't have a father around. When you don't have a father around, or should I say, if you don't have a father that understands respect and how to operate and how to act, your behavior is everything. And I'm sorry to say that, but especially as men and women, if a father's not around in a girl's life, she tend to act like her mom. She's going to act like her mom. She's going to be loud, out of hand, running her mouth too much, thinking that what she says, she holding weight when she don't. So when she gets slammed to her face, she looking like a victim. And when it comes to the boys, we overly aggressive to the point we think we going to beat the cops up. Now, sadly to say, we end up putting the cop on his ass. But this is the problem with that. You're going to lose your life, or you're going to end up you're going to be put away for a certain amount of time, a nice amount of years for assaulting an officer. That's not the path you want to go. You don't want to put yourself in predicaments that you can't make it home. You don't want to put yourself in predicaments, especially as men, whereas though you about to leave I'm not going to say the streets. You're going to leave the life that you're living, whether it's bad or good, or trying to find your way. You're going to leave here when you do something crazy, and you're going to be put away. You're going to end up doing 5, 6, 10, 20. Some people did 30-something years, and then they come home. They done lost all that life. And they did not lose it because it was just a mistake. Mistakes happen when you know better. But the problem is, a lot of the kids today and the younger adults, I used to think that they do know better, but that's not true. They don't. They conditioned. If you grew up operating a certain way as a little kid, then you going into your early teens, you more reckless. Then you become a vigilante. Once you in your late 20s, chaos. And you already know what's going to happen from there. A body going to drop, you're going to take someone's life, or you're going to do something horrific. Or you're going to end up being taken out because you was a menace. It's the same thing over and over and over again. So I realize in today's time, that mental space that we're in today, we have to actually balance it different. And I'm speaking to the men right now. We have to actually take a hold of ourselves and start to be more productive and just try to strive for something different. Because I could tell you, when you're in a messed up environment, the streets are going to win most of the time. And that's the bad part, because parents are putting their kids in such a bad predicament. I don't know whose fault it is, the man or the woman, but I could definitely tell you, just from experience from being out here, it is definitely set up to go against men. I'm sorry. I don't know what kind of life you live today, but if you actually just sit back and look how everything is playing out today, you will see how men are actually put into a situation that is damn near almost a no-win. One of the reasons why is because if anything that we do, we have to be accountable for it. We know this, but it's not right. No one is held at a fair standard to make everybody say, oh, you're at fault, you are at fault. The woman is looked at as she could have been manipulated. Women use manipulation tactics all the time, and they use it through sexuality. They know men gravitate to that. We know that. That's why the biggest robberies always happen when a man is set up due to a woman getting him to that destination. Then next thing you know, he's executed. We it's set up this way. It's not because it's a thing of it's just the way it is. It's not just the way it is. It's set up that way so men can look at women a certain way and women can look at men as just for exchange, money exchange. What can he do for me? He's not up to par. I need to be well taken care of. It's no such thing. And it's like that on purpose. And they make it like that because they want us to battle. And it's not when I think this is a war that's never going to be won. I think it's no longer going to be able to be resolved. Because when you have a one party that's being promoted to make more than a man, how are you going to work it out? It's not. You're not. Women are not set up that way to look at men as we can help each other. It just doesn't. I don't know why. It's just not. I can only speak from a man part though. As men, we normally feel bad when we see a woman going through it or struggling, especially when we have men around and we see how women operate. We see that when women get punched in the head, we're not going to just stand there. Well, this is the problem today. Once we started seeing how women move, we started recognizing what is going on and started noticing that it's certain things we cannot be involved with no more. And this is why you're seeing the separation. This is why, as men, we have to get into that position. Whereas though we're no longer just striving to just find the next piece of thing that we're trying to get to. We're trying to knock down. You know, they just had a law they just passed in Texas. I don't know if it's passed yet, but they're talking about it. Matter of fact, I don't think they're talking about it. I think it's actually passed right now. You can look it up, but I believe that they passed it. They did it this week. It's about paying for a child, an unborn child that they're carrying in the womb. That you can start being liable for the child support while they're carrying. I think it's on up to 2 months. 2 months, and if you're not paying anything in that 2 month period, they can get you from back child support from those months that she carried. It's not set up for us to win, guys. It's not set up for us to even work together. Because when you have the one side that's able to violate you, we're never going to be able to balance anything out because one party is going to be able to take advantage of the other. Remember, the laws are not set up for us to play fair. It's set up to be taken advantage of. And I remember watching an episode when they showed T.K. Kirkland. Remember the girl that was on I'm not going to say it was I forgot the show. It was a dating show. And she married the white dude. And the white dude took her for $500,000. She had to pay him a half. And TK was like, I'm proud for him. And she got mad. And he said, no, I'm proud because this always happens to men. And no matter what, she still looked at it as he's a well-capable human being. And TK had to remind her, exactly, the same thing is with women. Y'all are well and capable, but y'all still take a man to a ringer. And then she said, well, that still ain't right. She said, yeah, just because it ain't right, what are y'all doing about it? Nothing. So now when it's happening to y'all, we supposed to be like, well, I feel sad for you. Do you see why? It will never be fixed. It will never be fixed. You will never be able to balance this out. You won't. Because the laws are set up that way for one to manipulate the one party. And this is the sad part. When you see people say, especially as women, say, well, the men getting it. Stop saying men. Very tiny percentage of people even getting alimony. And majority of people that's getting alimony are walking off for millions. And those are women. It never plays out the same even when the women do have millions. If you look up the women that have millions, they're still not paying equivalent to a guy that's making millions and their wife is getting alimony. It's still an unfair balance. That's because the laws take a percentage of payments that's going out to spouses and even child support. So when you look at how everything is set up, it's not set up To play fair, it's set up to violate. This is why you're seeing more and more couples setting each other up to off each other and take them off the planet of Earth. You're having more funerals now. And you even seeing, if you even look it up and see how many wives done hired hitmen. And you got husbands taking their wives for a swim. They don't make anything comfortable no more to be able to love somebody. Love is out of the window. You can no longer look at love no more and think that love is going to be the be all. It's going to solve anything. It's not. It's not going to solve anything. Reason why it's not going to solve anything, because as time go on, even as men, this one thing men don't talk about, we fall out of love no different than women. We just act like we don't and be like, oh, love, love. That's the problem. Normally when a man falls out of love, no, and I'm being honest, normally when we fall out of love, it's something in the woman that we see that we start to fall back on, and we start to be like, damn, I made a bad move marrying this person. But the downfall of that is, on the woman's side, when she looks at us and she says to herself, I'm no longer into this man no more. They can stop and they can go ahead and do whatever they're going to do. But the next move is they file for child support. They file for divorce, whichever one they end up choosing to do first. Most of the time it's probably divorce first. And then they look to demolish you financially. And the sad part about that is, I'm not going to say who's a winner, but on the eyes, when it comes to hurting somebody, the woman is most likely end up winning that battle in some type of sense. Not in the sense of life, just in the sense of trying to hurt somebody. Because a lot of men walk away struggling, or in a sense of, how can I survive now? It's crazy. It's crazy for somebody to walk away from a marriage and live better out of a marriage financially when they didn't make none of that money. And we always talk about sacrifices. It's a lot of us sacrificing, but the problem is with the sacrificing of a livelihood, the one that's trying to make sure a family is good and made everybody comfortable is the one that get penalized. Tell me, how does that make sense? If we can figure this out, help me understand how can we figure this out. But from the looks of things now, we're not figuring anything out right now. That's null and void. You're never going to see that again because, like I said before, men on this side, women on this side. Wish the luck.